I've been recording for like a minute, so you're gonna have fun synchronizing.
Why do you do this to me? I won't remember. I'll be like, oh shit, what's wrong?
Let
Why
me tell
won't
you,
it sync?
52 seconds. That's how long this recording is as of a couple seconds ago. So that still doesn't help you.
I think Keith will figure it out.
Welcome to Save the Universe, episode 46. We have an emergency starting sequence because people want to talk about anime ass. Apparently,
yeah.
This is very different. Okay, this is special.
Let me tell this story. So one of my fans was like, "Hey, you should check out Dark Devotion." I look at Dark Devotion. It looks great. It's got like a really nice, moody aesthetic, pixel art. Yeah, very Dark Souls, Metroidvania, somewhere in there. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it doesn't come out until August of 2018. I'm just gonna scroll down and see like what Steam thinks is more like this. Number one result is Dragon Knight, which apparently Keith's talked about on this podcast.
Not to be confused with Dragon Knight.
But so the way the game, the way the Steam page goes is, you know, gameplay trailer, gameplay trailer, more gameplay trailer,
pixel monsters that are cool.
Ass being stung by bee.
Are you showing this in your camera?
No, I'm not.
I can if you want me to.
I just want to avoid the previous thing where we would talk about visual stuff and not show any of it.
I am switching over to display capture. There it is. Boom. I should have probably given you all a warning. But there it is, and there it is, and look over here. Number 3. There it is. Display capture off. I'm truly sorry.
I'm concerned by how their stingers are hooks.
I mean,
that's actually what stingers do look like.
Yeah, that's normal.
Well, actually, it's more common in bees that end up having their like whole abdomen ripped off in the process. Wasps
these are clearly
have a straight
wasps.
one.
They do, because they can sting you for forever.
Well, not only do they have a barbed hook on the end, but they're also like long curved horns. Like they're going to give you like some sort of like deep muscle injection.
Anime monster design gets kind of nonsensical at times.
But yeah, like this lulls you into a false sense of security, right? It's like normal,
like I was looking, I was like, oh,
and
this looks kind of okay.
I think you realize
that banner image doesn't really
look at the banner image is actually what the bee sting.
Oh yeah, it is the same thing. That's
when
weird.
When you have a woman looking compromised and blushing and distraught in anime art
wasn't
style,
looking
you
at that.
should really know what you're getting into.
I was looking about 2 inches down at recent reviews, mostly negative. All reviews very positive. Like, you don't see that disparity very often.
Wait, developer is Sakura Game?
Oh,
the warning signs were all there.
Oh man, we should have seen this coming.
I mean, when I see that banner image, I assume that it's like just straight up from a sex scene in the game.
The interesting thing is they have nothing to do with the Sakura clicker.
Yeah, I mean,
the artwork looks very
they made
similar.
the Sakura Spirit, but Sakura clicker is just
Are you sure? Because I'm looking at their released games.
Oh wait, no, they didn't.
Yeah,
you're right.
This is
Sakura,
just another use of the same name.
Oh,
Sakura bundle is different from
that's
the other
weird.
Sakura bundle. What am I looking at here?
It looks like it's a developer that more or less makes like shitty hentai games and sells them for like $2.
So is that what we're gonna play?
I mean, if you look at the publishing list,
play Dragon Knight.
If you look at the publishing list, every single banner is some anime girl blushing.
Yeah. The Dragon Knight game is tagged as early access on Steam, meaning if you play this now, it has the potential to explode and be the next scrap mechanic. Like, people will be like watching Dragon Knight, like 400,000 views, 700,000 views. You're gonna get subs. You're gonna get bee stings. It's gonna be the next great hotness on your channel.
And they should have told those the dungeon people, not Dungeon Hunter. What is it called? What's the side-scrolling beat 'em up dungeon grindy JRPG game?
I don't know.
Like they should have told them they just needed boobs to become the famous. Because this game looks exactly identical to a game that already exists, except Shameless.
Well,
but it's called Dungeon, which is like makes it impossible to remember what it's called.
Yeah. Dungeon Hunter,
I tried Dungeon Hunter, and that's like a weird iPhone franchise. Dungeon Fighter, completely different name.
Oh,
so I found.
Whoa! No.
What
is this, Dungeon Fighter?
No.
Dungeon Fighter Online on Steam.
Wandered wasn't noticing the gameplay footage from the Dragonite game, but there was full-on nipple.
Oh, like for the special, like the super meter like filled out, and then it's just like
she did her like special attack, and like that character.
I'm gonna hit you with my titties.
Now,
let me see which gameplay video is this one? The third one.
Oh, I accidentally turned on the music.
Look at the animation in this is like 100% tweened too.
It's bad.
Awful looking.
Was that it?
No. It was like later.
Wait till you find out about the franchise about anime girls where their clothes fall off when they take damage. And they're all really awkwardly aged up because they're all underage by our standards. But if they change the number, it's not creepy. I'm like, it's still creepy.
No,
it's still very
bad.
creepy. That's the creepiest shit is when there's a franchise where they had to age up the characters for the US release.
That I don't get any glare in my glasses when I record these podcasts if I just look upwards at all times, and I just kind of look up to the sky very wistfully, like, oh, hello, diplomas up on my wall. How are you doing?
You just gotta get surgery to raise your nose.
Wait, but if I do like the anime villain thing they were talking about earlier, it also works. Like if I kind of tilt my forehead down and push my glasses up, like, yes, Satsuki.
You're still going with that name.
All according to plan.
Yes, you have activated my trap. Or alternatively, I'm a college professor and I'm like, yes, quite.
I'm sorry, I'm required by law to say just according to Keikaku. Keikaku means just as planned.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All according to Hikaku.
All
according to Pukake.
Just the dumb fan translations where they just don't translate.
All right, enough beating out of the bush.
Don't say
what
bush.
do we want to talk about?
I got things.
Don't say
bush. Want to talk about Besiege?
Monster Hunter World.
Monster Hunter,
Besiege. Yeah. Besiege is good. Let's talk about Besiege, seeing as that's actually something that we have as a common element. Yeah.
Yep.
It's fun. I've been waiting for the multiplayer for that game since it came out because I was like, this is a fun thing that I have no interest in playing alone. Let's play together. Unfortunately, it's one of those games where you can actually destroy other people's creations temporarily, which like...
Wait, what do you mean by that?
What do you mean? Like destroy other people's
creations temporarily. Like,
well, so like if you press spacebar, you reset. Yeah, exactly. That's why I say temporarily. Okay. And so that hits the like the chord in me that makes me want to destroy everything because I know there's like actually no like long-lasting consequences. So like we did a race and we all made racers and Durf was like directly behind me and I had a shotgun powered car and Durf like ended up directly behind me as I'm shooting and he destroyed himself and I'm like, well, cat's out of the bag, everybody dies now. And like afterwards I was like, I'm kind of an asshole and I shouldn't do that.
I was going to get second place up until you came along and shot my tires out.
Durf was going to get second place until I murdered his ass.
Yes, but the point is he was dead, I was alive, and then you self-sabotaged me.
Just a tiny aside, I visited Bird's YouTube page and the thumbnail for the stream is the hornet ass.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Because it's bright, colorful, and contrasty. YouTube loves that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Hey, if it works for anime, it works for me.
Does it though? That's a terrible standard to put for yourself. Oh no.
Nothing works in anime. Anime is real life.
Anime is real.
Wait, the red wall?
Anyway, back to Besiege.
Let's talk about Besiege and then we can talk about this. Anyway, go.
I had never played Besiege until we played it multiplayer, and I was like, we need to either play more of this or something, because like I did not see what the appeal of that game was in terms of like more than just kind of a couple one-off sessions. Like, you played with it a little bit more. Is there? So we're on like this totally flat world with a couple of mountains here and there.
Yeah,
but like it looks like you're on top of a giant blueprint. So, and I hope that there's ways to like manipulate the world more. I don't know.
There's a level designer thing that you can do. So I think the main appeal for Besiege is in much the same way as Scrap Mechanic of like, here's kind of a tool set. What can you do? So have you never seen any of the GIFs of people making like a giant swastika.
Yeah, so it's like usually it's a puzzle game, and what you do is you like make a helicopter and you just blow everything up.
And it seems like a much more functional physics engine.
Physics engine, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Actually, it's not horrible.
Which is to say that it has one at all.
But so like the amount of like crazy creations people have made in that are like leagues better than even like Scrap Mechanic, because the game can actually support them. Like, I mean, you remember Harold the Dragon and the horrible things that it did to that session.
The fact that John Bain claims that he was able to actually play with that thing on his server is insanity to me.
Yeah,
it was like,
what about
it was like 4 seconds per frame. Well, Sluggy Lore was great.
Well, also, Darth Slugula was a giant block of blocks. He had no moving parts.
Yeah.
So when it came down to it, he was actually fairly light on the server because he didn't move. It sucked when I tried to make him like fly, hover, because then it would start to lag really bad because there was, I don't know, issues with weight balancing.
When I was looking over your shoulder and seeing you guys playing this
Besieged.
It didn't seem like you guys were actually assailing castles and were just battle boxing it out.
I think we need to download and make castles and then blow them up ourselves.
Yeah, people were suggesting that we do like 2v2s where one team makes a castle.
Did they add a multiplayer mode, but not a campaign?
Yeah,
exactly.
There might almost be a multiplayer campaign. I actually have not checked that. I just chucked this into Sandbox because it was the first thing that popped up.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool if, I don't know how well integrated it is with the Steam Workshop, but if we were able to play like custom levels from people, that would be awesome.
Cool. There is a level creator. So
can we download stuff from the Steam Workshop? I'm actually just going to check this right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
Yep.
Let's see.
But yeah, we had a really fun time. It was like a lot of the things that we enjoyed about Scrap Mechanic, but with a less terrible engine. Besieged was pretty well optimized. Yeah, I think that Besieged was pretty well programmed. I mean, the netcode in it was great.
Yeah. The thing was, like, the developer just wanted to make a, like, realistic catapult simulator. Right. And then, like, people found it and then went bananas for ages. Yeah. I mean, it pretty much made Dragast's channel exist on, like, as big as it is. And...
yeah, we need to play it more, I think. I really liked our balloon fight. So what we did was we kind of recreated a battle mode from Mario Kart, sort of, in that we attached 3 balloons to our cars, and we had to try and pop each other's balloons with like drills and bows and arrows and stuff like that.
They actually have that functionality in this game?
Yeah.
Making balloons that are poppable?
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. So I mean, we made the like the win-loss mechanic involving the balloon. Like,
yeah, because otherwise destroying each other's creations was kind of hard. Usually you'd end up destroying your own vehicle. Which I actually
we were good at sabotaging ourselves.
I would like that as one of our challenges to do a mode where it's not kill the other person, it's just make a creation who's ever can like hold it together long enough. Yeah.
Is this a game where you attack one another and parts of you start flying off? Or
kind of?
Nah.
You can totally break off chunks of each other.
They're surprisingly like durable. Like I don't think the destruction physics really intended for you to be using like saw blades on other people, because like I was trying to use saw blades on like a wooden brace.
The physics on those balloons is really impressive.
Oh yeah. So that's why we did the balloon thing, because you can pop a balloon really
So
really
it looks
easily.
like, and this is super unfortunate, the only thing that you can really share on the workshop are machines. You can't share wait, there's stationary. This looks interesting.
I see a level here that says New Valhalla. It's not a puzzle level. I'm just looking at the workshop right now.
There is level categories.
Players. Yeah. And it's
sweet.
like a bunch of sky islands. Yeah, we've got stuff to do.
We're in for a good time now.
Yeah. But it is fun. It's honestly everything, not everything I wanted out of like Scrap Mechanic, but if Scrap Mechanic were to have added like a destruction mode, this gets a lot closer to what I'd like.
Yep.
Also, interesting levels.
So yeah, I give it 2 birdly thumbs up.
Whatever
League of Legends Summoner's Rift.
There's a League of Legends map for this.
Enjoy imagining bird thumbs.
Yeah.
Wait,
I could just watch his stream.
Are they feathery or are they talony? That's the real question.
So would the point of the League of Legends map be, say, you have to destroy those? What are those statues that fire upon you in the lanes? Like the towers?
I'm sure you'd have to, like...
There's something similar to that, and then you have to progress. Yeah. Can they set enemy units against you in a map?
No.
No, there's no AI,
This is
unfortunately.
not that well made of a game.
But
if it had AIs, that'd be really cool, but AI is unbelievably hard to program.
Does the tower? Do the towers have the ability to fire on you?
No.
No.
There are like little units that will fight, but I've never seen them in a.
So it's pretty much just a barrier breaking game. So it's only a matter of time.
No, there are actually like little people that will shoot arrows at you.
The LOL map is functional, actually, according to the White Fang.
You can play League of Legends on it.
That's interesting.
You can play quote League. You can play like the McDonald's knockoff gift, like Happy Meal toy version of League of Legends. Sure.
Oh, you little knights.
Yeah, well, the little knights will surround you and try and kill you. Yeah,
neat.
There's like archers and stuff that will like shoot your creation. Admittedly,
cool. Oh, so, now your archers are firing on your knights? Oh,
wait,
blood.
What? This is kind of just weird. Okay, so I loaded up Besiege to see what was going on, to see if I could actually put down units.
He created a bunch of knights, and the knights are just hopping around, not slashing their swords.
I created a bunch of knights and a bunch of archers, and the knights are hopping around, not doing anything to the archers,
and the archers are slowly
murdering them. And it's just very confusing because I did not do any of this intentionally. I was just like, let's see what happens, and they just immediately go into deathmatch mode.
Different sides. Also, there's a Milo, Alistair.
I don't know what's going on.
They have names.
All right, let's rein this in a little bit. This is the podcast. I'm not watching you. It's cool. I understand how
this either.
I understand how it happens.
Now you guys know that you can make units.
It's cool, and it's also like dirt cheap compared to most sandboxy games, which I don't know. I always appreciated.
Yep,
like $8.
Yeah,
that was fun.
So yeah, Besiege is cool. Expect more episodes of Besiege to come out. We've only played one session of it so far because scheduling me is a pain in the ass. It's going to get a lot harder.
Also, once we're done with Divinity, life will be.
Oh yeah, flexible. We're getting close. We're getting close.
I mean, we can beat it tonight if we actually just went down.
Yeah. You want to talk about Monster Hunter World?
So Monster Hunter World, have you guys looked into that at all? Seen anything, or probably not?
I saw that it had a lock on, and they didn't used to, but I don't know enough about Monster Hunter to begin with to contextualize Monster Hunter World.
I saw it in PAX, and it looked really, really great.
It is really fun. So, like, more or less, it's take out the level design of Dark Souls, but keep the interesting bosses. But of course, they're all dinosaur creatures instead of people in armor that, you know, have weird bullshit movement tactics. But so it, I guess since you guys don't have much of a prior exposure to Monster Hunter,
we played Dauntless, that counts.
Yeah, but
Dauntless
take everything you didn't like about Dauntless and make it not shitty. And really just make Dauntless complete and not shitty.
I think the only thing I really didn't like about Dauntless was the pointlessness of the quests. Otherwise, I was pretty on board with the game.
That was legit the worst, to be like, I already played these levels, but play them again because you didn't have this quest active yet. And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, that was awful.
I think Monster Hunter is still going to kind of have that issue to some degree. Usually you have to fight each monster at least.
That's
like
the problem
once or
with these
twice
games, because they're big bang on like one huge like thing that's amazing, but then they also want to make the game long, so they make you just kind of keep redoing it over and over. That's like weirdly
a thing that Elex keeps nailing, is that if you're in some random corner of the map and kill 5 dudes, you'll get a notification of like, you've killed 4 out of 5 dudes, and I'm like, I don't even know what quest that's for. And then like 2 hours later you encounter a quest like, I need you to kill these dudes. I'm like, oh, I did that ages ago, and then you just put it in on the spot. I'm like, that's weirdly cool.
Now the question is, did it save your progress?
Yes, it does. It's weird. I completed half the quest for that game just by wandering around, shooting people, looting stuff, And then like later on, somebody's like, "Hey, I need like a flux converter," and I'm like, "I got dozens." So at one point, you get a quest fairly early on in a town called Origin, and there's an engineer there. He's like, "Did you see that plane go down?" And you can like snarkily say like, "Yes, I was on it," or something like that. Like more or less, just like kind of shit on him and his exuberance. And he's like, "Oh man,
I'm sure that's immediately what you did.
If I fix it up, can I have half of it?" And I'm like, "I'm not using it." Sure. And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to need all these parts." And I'm like, "Yes."
How can you have half of a plane?
Yeah, I guess he wanted to timeshare the plane.
Oh, okay. That's the closest
which
approximation.
Is silly because, so he's like, "Okay, but I'm going to need all these like rare and hard to find parts. Like you're going to have to do a lot of work to go get them." And I'm like, "I got them right here." He's like, "Oh, okay, well, you're done. I'm going to go get the plane now." And then the plane just winks into existence next to me. And I'm like, "Huh, well, that's fast."
It leads these really funny blind trust moments, though, where, like, I freed a guy from cannibals, and then I had the option to demand his cleric weapon that I didn't know existed. And then hours later, somebody asked for a cleric weapon. I'm like, he stole it. Okay.
I actually did that properly. The weird thing is he asks for a beer. And if you give him the beer... if you demand the cleric weapon from him, which is this like high-tech hammer thing and like leagues more expensive than the beer, he's like, "Well, you gave me a beer, here's the hammer."
Well, you also saved him from cannibals.
This is true, but it's just like every other video game interaction I'm ever used to is just like, "Oh, you want the MacGuffin? Well, it's going to cost you 2 other MacGuffins in trade," as opposed to like a beer and, you know, proper politeness.
I think the fact that there's a bloody skeleton behind you the entire conversation contextualizes the motivation.
No, he just seemed so cheery about it. He's like, "Hey, thanks for saving me from the cannibals. Want to hear about history?"
That's the weird part, is he talks for 10 minutes about history out of nowhere, unprovoked.
So for me, I talked to him. He's like, "Thanks. I don't know what would have happened to me. I'd probably be dead. Can I have a beer?" I give him the beer. "All right, you want to hear about history?" So I do like 15 minutes of me just listening about history. And then at the end, I'm like, "Can I have the hammer?" And he's like, "Sure thing." And I was like, I thought I'd have to like argue about this or any number of things. And I'm like, I'm standing there in full cleric armor, and he doesn't even recognize.
You're like in chapter 3 of a visual novel. You've already romanced him.
It was weird.
Oh,
I need to go back to that game. I got busy. What's up?
I was just thinking back to when we were talking about Dialup and how you pranked that one guy.
Oh,
you pranked a guy on Dialup?
That's a completely different story. Where does this come from?
I was just thinking about it. We were supposed to talk about it on a podcast at one point.
No,
I know it's
real
unrelated.
connection.
Yeah, I think Shell zones out when we're talking about stuff she's not interested in, and then as soon as there's a lull, she sneak attacks with
and then she says that you reminded
about.
Her of it, but really it has nothing to do with it at all.
Well, just him talking about this just reminds me
of when we were
talking about that.
On Dial-Up, it was literally over phones. So like one time I accidentally got like a long distance charge for my internet usage.
Ooh.
Because I called like a long distance ISP.
It was never heard of that before.
It was for like a minute before I realized what I did. So it was like not anything bad. But it was like, oh shit, I forget that this can happen. Because I was dialing, I had moved recently to New Mexico, so I went on the internet and I hit the endpoint in Maryland.
Oops.
I just remember when like not everyone had phones, not everyone had their even personal computers for each person in the house or anything like that. So like I was like asking permission to print out a game facts guide for like Dynasty Warriors or something because I wanted all the information.
They said no
without always going on the computer over and over again.
I would have to make sure that my parents weren't expecting any phone calls before I could play Battle.net, because, you know, obviously playing StarCraft custom games shuts down the phone line because dial-up, yay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a miracle that it worked that well, now that I'm thinking about it, because like I didn't have that many internet issues on freaking dial-up of all things.
Yeah, I used to play Diablo
it was built
on
off of the internet. Like dial-up was built off of phones, and phones are freaking amazing systems that I can talk about for a while, but nobody would care about, so I won't. But
Make a podcast.
I mean, phones were designed. Phones were designed to like withstand like wars, basically. Like if you take out like if you have a B-52 bomber come along and just blow up like a exchange on like the phone system, it should still work. And cable TV doesn't work that way. So like our coaxial systems don't have those sorts of redundancies built into them.
What about satellite?
What about
it? They have to have like transmission towers and things to relay information, right?
I actually have no idea how satellite internet works, but
I imagine slowly.
Oh, it's extremely slow and extremely expensive.
Wired things are probably always faster.
Yeah,
generally. Yeah.
I think the way satellite works is that you send your data to a tower, which then sends it up into the satellite system, and then it comes back down. But I don't really remember.
How do satellites stay in the right position? They have an orbit. I know
a lot of math.
But...
Yeah, a lot of math.
Satellites are one of the only things that require
space debris.
The answer is hiding behind several degrees.
So
you have to get all those degrees, then you'll have the answer.
Satellites are one of the only things that we've ever engineered that requires both special and general relativity to work correctly. So the math around like putting stuff in orbit and like having it be positionally precise is incredibly difficult.
One thing that just boggles my mind is how each country probably, well, not every country, but a number of countries probably have satellites up there. Do they discuss it over? Say, hey, we're going to put a satellite maybe about like several hundred meters and stuff away from your satellite and blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
Stuff like that is super duper controlled.
I think a lot of the answers to how things don't hit each other in space is big.
Yeah, also that.
Space is very big.
Your dial-up story.
Well, yeah, let's start climbing back out this rabbit hole.
Satellites and dial-up.
We went deep in the wrong direction.
Yeah. We got to dump Leonardo into the pool, into the bath, and we got to make the bus hit the water.
Yeah. Okay, so the dial-up story, very quick, is I used to play RuneScape a lot.
We know about that.
Back in the days of, like... dial-up and like people slowly getting onto DSL and Fios and like whatever was available in the mid 2000s. And there was this dickwad player that had introduced my brother and I to RuneScape to some degree. Like he was the one that's like, yeah, I'll show you the ropes, I'll help you out.
But
you
knew him in
real
life, right?
I knew him in real life. He was a classmate, and I mean, I always thought he was a bit sketchy, but I was like, all right, fine, someone to play video games with. I just moved to the school district anyway, so I was kind of trusting. And so he got us into RuneScape and immediately was like, yeah, you want to start like working on your gathering skills and stuff like that. So go start mining stuff and, I'll just handle the money work. So he would sell them for us, presumably. Turns out he was like paying us less than half, like the proper price. Money. And he was lying to us and like a bunch of other things and just being a giant asshole. And when I'm like, dude, this isn't cool. Like, why would you do this? He's like, well, it's your fault for getting suckered into this. And I'm like, I thought we were friends. I guess this was wrong.
So
I'm just trolling, bro. It's just a prank.
Yeah. Well, he was
that doesn't reflect on me as a human.
He was one of those guys.
Using you guys as gathering bodies to like do his work?
He was using us as wage slaves, pretty much.
Wow.
It was awful. So we learn about this, of course, and we're pissed, and he more or less shotguns the friendship into non-existence, and I'm like, well, I guess I've learned, and I'm never going to trust him again. So one day he finds out that we're going to do like a PvP event. If you never played RuneScape, there was an area called the Wilds, which was just fair game for anybody to fight. I think unless you were lower than a certain level, maybe, I don't even remember that. But effectively, you could fight anyone there. And he's like, hey, you want to like 1v1 me? And I'm like, okay, fine. And so I dress up in like kind of disposable equipment. I don't want to lose any of my stuff. He shows up in his full like best tier equipment, which at the time wasn't really that great because they hadn't added any of the bells and whistles.
I see where this is going.
But it was still pretty expensive. I don't
yet, actually. Where is this going?
I actually disliked this guy quite a lot in school and out of school, and he had just kind of been kind of a dick ever since this event, and I had at least tried to be cordial, and so I didn't really feel about I didn't feel any goodwill towards this guy. Now, there are two things about him. One, nobody else liked him. Two, my friends, or three things. My friends knew his phone number, and three, he was on really bad dial-up.
Oh,
so we get
I know where this is going now.
And I'm healing, and he's like mocking me in chat because his character is like wildly overleveled compared to mine. At which point, I turn to one of the guys in the room with me who has recently got a cell phone and has never met this guy before, and they're like 2 years apart in school, so they'd never encounter each other probably ever, because this guy ended up going to like a Catholic middle school, high school, and stuff like that. So complete anonymity, gives him a call and starts singing him Christmas carols or something. I don't remember what he was singing, but he was singing with this like big shit-eating grin on his face. Well, the other guy, the guy that I'm in the process of PKing, is disconnected from the internet because he's on dial-up. Yep. So he can't be playing RuneScape anymore, meaning his character is dead in the water.
Yep.
Who just stands there, stock still, as I murder him the rest of the way down. And you can just hear him screaming on the phone to stop calling, because he'd hang up and then call back and hang up, call back. And so, like,
you DDoSed this guy.
I DDoSed him.
You didn't DDoS him, you just DOSed him, but still.
I DDoSed him, and he lost everything. Apparently, he actually had quite a lot of stuff on him.
That's like some OG like Eve drama stuff.
That's great.
It's like we cut the power to his house and the flagship in real life.
And so he was so mad that he actually just gave his channel, not his channel, his RuneScape account to some other kid who ended up being almost a carbon copy clone, but younger, and did kind of the same stuff to my little brother, which was very strange.
Voice, but like still a prick.
Yes.
Got it.
But the final point to this is I saw them both more or less before moving out to Kansas. I was a YouTuber at the time.
Oh, really?
I saw one of them when I was just out and about, and more or less, I don't even know if he recognized me, but he was working at a grocery store and I didn't bother saying hi. But I saw the other guy, like, I want to say 10 hours later, which shocked me because I was like, it's not a glitch in the Matrix, but it was just weird. And so the younger guy had been like a colossal douche, mainly to my younger brother, but like kind of to me, and like I didn't care because I was insulated from it. And apparently he came over along with some other people to a house party my brother was throwing because they had all just graduated from undergraduate from college.
So this guy that treated your brother like shit showed up at your brother's party.
And he proceeded to apologize in the most heartfelt and like profuse manner, not only to my brother, but to me. And I'm like, I think this is minutes before you and I were like going to play Dark Souls 2.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I kind of
playing Dark Souls 2.
remember you said something about that.
Yeah. And so like I was minutes away from co-oping with you, and he just comes in and he like gives me a hug and he apologizes for being a prick in high school, and I'm like, what? It blew my mind. I don't know, that's the story. I DDoSed a guy, and then other things happened.
And then he grew as a person.
Yeah. Well, no. The guy that I DDoSed never grew as a person. He was always a dick. His successor grew as a person. Quite a lot, I think.
Anyway. It was amusing though, because I was talking about dial-up internet in our Discord, and a lot of people didn't know what it was. Well, that's because like, they're so young.
Yeah. There are kids that were born in the year 2000 that are going to be adults next year.
Yeah.
Different age.
It's like when my parents talk about having an 8-track on their car.
I remember I gave a presentation on Windows for a communications class I was taking. And this was when I was getting my second bachelor's degree. So all of my peers were like 8 or 9 years younger than me at the time. And they had never heard of DOS. They had never used a computer where you had to type to like accomplish tasks. It's always like, usually, you use your keyboard just for data entry. But back in the day, it was like, I want to play Warcraft. I have to type in like commands to like go open the folder with Warcraft in it, and then like open up Warcraft 2 all through a text terminal. And I showed this to everyone.
That's seen as being so arcane nowadays that the game Tartarus thought that it could get away with that being the entire base of it being a puzzle game. I have a puzzle game because I have a DOS interface, and that's the puzzle. That was the whole game, basically.
So I demonstrated, like, this is how you used to have to use computers, and everyone was like, wow. And that's just funny to me. It's funny to me what
how does it feel, Bird,
people
to
don't
be
know about
a living fossil?
I'm only like 5 years younger than older than some of my peers, and like the differences that we've had in life experiences are nuts.
I mean, it's interesting because I don't remember computers being like that, because my first experience with it was Windows 95.
Oh, you never had an old computer then, huh?
No,
it's like when you hear about people going to jail before smartphones were invented, then coming out right after they were really popular, and suddenly being like, "What happened to the world?" Like we were in it, so we didn't notice the change. But everyone that like was gone for a bit, they come back and you're like, "What? Is everyone's looking down all the time now? What's happening?"
Yeah, it's interesting going to places like the post office or the store and how everyone's just so immersed in their cell phones.
Be fair, cell phones are awesome.
Just imagine like going on a trip and coming back and everyone has brain chips now. You're like, wait, what? when did this happen?
So, Bird,
I mean, I use my phone just primarily to keep in touch with other people. I'm not like on the internet or anything like that. I'm usually just like checking Discord and chatting with people.
So you were looking up StarCraft?
Yeah, well, Bird mentioned Warcraft 2 because he's been playing that, and I actually wanted to ask about that. Have you looked into the StarCraft remaster at all, or no, not really?
I have looked into it very, very slightly, and it looks pretty damn cool. I'm not going to play it, though, because I don't want to buy it, because I've already bought StarCraft, and I'm like, they don't need more money from me.
I have like 5 copies
they'll
of
ask
StarCraft.
For it.
Yeah.
They gave you keys for it?
Me? No.
No, he's just saying he keeps
family,
repurchasing the game over and over again.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
His family always had StarCraft and Warcraft and
because
World of
my
Warcraft.
brother, my dad, and I would play stuff together, we had to have multiple copies to play
it's
online.
Hilarious looking at their wall of games and how they have like 3
Do
copies
they have
of every
StarCraft
single
over
one.
and over again?
Yeah, we had a lot of
Guild
copies
Wars.
of StarCraft. Because we'd have friends over for LAN party, and you could make those like spawn CDs so people could play like temporarily online.
Right.
If I remember right. Well, my brother had a LAN party, and he had a bunch more friends than I did. And sometimes they would bring more friends along, and one day one of them stole all of our StarCraft CDs and got every single one of those CD keys banned from online.
Whoa, wait.
That was
Where do
awful.
you find all these friends? All of your old friends'
my
stories
brother's
are
friends
terrible.
Roll in with these. I mean,
I've actually noticed that too. All of Wander's like friends from his childhood are like, oh yeah, this person dicked me over for X reason.
Yeah,
I keep hearing new stories too, and we've been together for 7 years.
I don't run around being like, the world has wronged me. I'm just like, oh,
Like, I've had
here's
the
a
same
semi-funny
group of maybe
anecdote
about
that's kind of actually
10-some friends
bad.
for years, and
well, this is kind of what happens when you like
you moved around a lot.
Yeah, when you move around a lot, you don't have like consistent friends who won't dick you over, so you end up with friends that might dick you over. But so yeah, we lost all of our CDs, so we had to buy 3 more copies of StarCraft plus Brood War. But at that point, it was like $5 for the combo pack. So like, who cares?
Pro tip: you don't need multiple copies if you buy the 64 version, which has we
did buy the
64 version.
So we had the 64 version. It was awkward.
It's so I can't imagine playing an RTS with anything other than a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, imagine trying to play it on a 16-inch TV. I think
I played my brother and I were like RTSs on controllers.
Yeah, my brother and I were like more or less crammed in front of the TV trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And then we're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just go back to the PC version. I think we bought the 64 version because I think you could co-op the campaign.
The Nintendo 64 version is worth a lot now.
They had co-op missions, and they had some extra missions and stuff.
Yeah, we tried doing those, and it was like impossible. We'd get just rushed by Zerglings, and we couldn't figure it out, and it's like, give up.
Yep.
Anyway,
yeah, I have no intention of giving Blizzard any more money for their old ass games.
I need to. Oh my god, I need to set up a StarCraft 64 co-op campaign playthrough.
How in the hell would you ever set that up and record it?
How do you record Nintendo 64 games?
Capture card. It's actually super easy.
Yeah, it's just
the biggest issue with old consoles, besides the cables themselves, is figuring out whether or not there's going to be a weird like interlacing problems that ruin the video.
Yeah.
You have to buy, like for the SNES, you have to buy like a special type of cable, and that will determine whether the system interlaces it or not. Like really funny stuff like that happens. Yep.
We did a full playthrough of the bouncer, and then we found out that the video was reloading every time it started a cutscene, and so it reset our interlacing option, so the rest of the recording after the test was all interlaced, and so it was all like everyone looked like a wobbly.
Awful.
Everyone was a wobbly spaghetti man.
Yeah, for people who don't know what interlacing means, interlace means it takes your footage and it makes it look like shit.
What's hilarious, for a time at my house, we had the Wii with a flat screen TV. We had the Nintendo 64 with an analog, and we had the Atari with a dial switch TV.
Oh my god. Why'd you have like all these old systems?
But they just, and we still play the Atari on the dial TV, except now it makes a high-pitched ringing noise, and you can barely look at the screen because it's just
old. It always made a high-pitched ringing noise. You just looked past it. It always went, because every TV made that noise back then.
It's funny, like, just looking back, and I can just go into the guest room and be like, old TV with dials, flip them around.
I know, TV with dials are great. People, okay, when you change a channel on a TV now, you think like, I just press a button, and then it changes. Nah, changing the channel on a TV with dials is like, ka-tunk, ka-tunk, for every channel you want to go, because you're physically rotating the tuner inside of the TV. Man.
And I think the volume setting was another little
I don't miss that. We had our old ass like CRT TV or whatever, the tube TV, I don't know. I think up until 2006. It was really hard playing, like getting a Wii to hook up to that thing. Like
I am not surprised.
Yeah, trying to play PS2 and Wii stuff on that was torturous. And eventually my mother caved and was like, fine, we'll get a nice new TV. 2 years later, we got the nice new TV.
2 years.
Yeah, it's miraculous how much thinner, smaller, more compact everything is getting.
Anyone have any games planned for Christmas time?
I'm wondering when the Christmas sale is for Steam.
The Christmas sale is going on. I don't know if it seems like the big thing now is Black Friday, and then they skip out on everything else for the month.
I don't need to play a Christmas game. I'm already playing the most famous Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer game ever made, Wind Waker.
Really?
What is it?
Oh, what?
Because their protagonists look identical.
Okay, so the Steam Winter Sale is the 21st.
21st,
yep.
You were talking about Wind Waker, right? How it looks like the elf boy?
The guy, Link looks like the dentist kid that wants to be a dentist, so he rips all
really
these teeth out of a living creature.
Except for he's way less happy about it.
If you go back to watch that movie again, not only is it unexpectedly effective at being actually scary at times, but it has really fucked up morals that don't translate to modern audiences, and it's also like oddly like horrifying in moments that are supposed to be like sweet and victorious.
Cornelius, and he always is licking his pickaxe.
It was weirdly dystopic. Yeah, I think that movie single-handedly made me not trust Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's a really horrible take on Santa Claus. He seems like a horrible person.
We're talking specifically about that stop motion movie from the 60s, right?
Yeah.
I think I've only seen that thing once.
It feels like weird, like post-war propaganda era stuff, because it probably is. but also like the horror moments.
A children's movie in the 1960s. It's going to be like, now we got to keep the Reds away.
All the morals are wrong, but also like the model snowman's terrifying because they do the Jaws thing where he's never on camera for like 3/4 of the cartoon, not a cartoon, but and he just keep getting horrible sounds and horrible senses of scale. He somehow changes size in every single scene, seemingly, and he's just terrifying until he shows up and he's just some jackass that gets all his teeth ripped out because it's a silly movie. Except that's horrifying too, that they just rip all of his teeth out.
I probably kept too many of my toys when I was little because I didn't want them to go to the land of lost toys or unloved. What is it? The land of
misfit toys.
Misbegotten toys.
It's misplaced.
Misbegotten.
You think it's misbegotten?
It is misbegotten.
Huh.
Oh man,
that is usually where I'd stop the movie because it made me very uncomfortable.
I still think it's misfit toys.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Sorry, where am I getting misbegotten toys from?
I don't know. That's a big word for 1960s children's programming.
I know.
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody would want an elephant that's blue. That's a weird low standard for misfit.
I think misbegotten is like the same definition in my brain. Yeah. Well, no. I almost like misbegotten toys better. It's like shitty Chinese knockoff island. Oh man!
I feel like one of the misfit toys was indoctrinated into thinking that there's something wrong with them, just so that everyone else could justify themselves. Because everyone else is like, "I'm a plane that shoots water" or stuff like that. Then out of nowhere, this is like, "I have polka dots." I'm like, what? That's normal. That's normal.
It reminds me of one of my favorite childhood stories growing up was they had these really old books where they had dolls that they would pose to make the illustrations in the books. And it was the Steadfast Tin Soldier. And yeah, he was a defective toy. He ends up being the hero in the end. Except in the original version, he and the ballerina die a grisly death. In the Disney version that they put in Fantasia 2000, they both live. And live happily ever after.
Go figure.
I wonder if Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is on YouTube in its entirety.
Probably.
And I wonder if we could just do
if it's old enough.
Commentary over it.
Well, it depends on like.
Give me not.
Does anyone still have the rights to that and stuff?
Oh, it's a CBS movie. It's like probably the same. I mean, those movies were made very commonly back in the day, like the Christmassy movies. They didn't realize that people would have nostalgia about them, so they've been wildly more successful than they were ever anticipated to be, especially the Charlie Brown ones, which they were just kind of thrown together.
That was also done in stop motion.
Yeah, anyway, Monster Hunter.
Yeah, Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter world is great. I
might play it if it had a plot, but it doesn't.
Yeah, there's no plot. It really is just kind of boss rush. I think they do have kind of the quote-unquote plot, which is like loose reasons for doing anything. It's like, this monster's threatening like the water resource. Go fight it. But ultimately, it's mostly just for fighting the monsters, and they've got like 20 different weapons or something. I really enjoyed it though. Like every weapon kind of felt distinct and fun. My favorite was at the very, very end of the beta, because there was a beta period last weekend. Me and 3 randos from the internet, the Proto was one of them. We all loaded up with hammers, which they all just kind of automatically look like Smo's hammer to begin with, like just in terms of like shape and size. And we just picked the intermediate boss, surrounded the thing, and just kept hitting it with the hammers. And different weapons have different effects. So if you've got like a weapon that cuts, you can cut off parts of the monsters. So like a tail, for example, for extra resources. Or if you've got a hammer, it'll like break armor off and stun the enemy. So 4 dudes with hammers surrounding this poor monster, it more or less would like just topple over, and we'd all like surround it and just beat the shit out of it. It would like kind of stumble to its feet, and like it has like the stun like animation, and we just pummel it back into the ground again. Like it was almost
That's
horrifying.
Actually kind of horrifying the way you describe it.
And that's the thing. I watch them do this, and I go, those poor majestic creatures.
Yeah, but also it's a video game. I don't know. The way I describe it sounds kind of horrifying, but like,
I mean, half the deaths in Zelda games have been making me sad. Where you defeat a boss and then they just die horribly afterwards. I'm like, oh shit, didn't realize it was going to go this way.
But like, I don't know. It's just fun. Like, you guys remember how we were having trouble against the dragon at the end of Dark Souls 3?
We weren't really having trouble. We just didn't get him on the first try.
Or the first day.
Didn't it take us like a week to kill that guy?
I think it took us
3
like
days.
3 days.
Yeah. Dark Souls kind of evokes that, but slightly less bullshit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You mean
Monster Hunter?
Yeah, sorry. Did I say Dark Souls? Brain.
Yeah.
I was watching Happy Souls earlier today, so like my brain is kind of off. Anyway,
stop watching this stupid movie, Keith.
I thought it would be funny to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Abominable Snowman boss fight while he talks about Monster Hunter. It's fitting.
Anyway, continue. I'm listening.
But like, each of the fights feels really nice and unique. So like, the first one is just this stupid iguana thing, and if you wait long enough, it goes and like eats a shit ton of fish and gets like really fat, and then you can just like beat the tar out of it while it's like waddling around too full. To like really fight back, and then it like barfs it all up on you, and then it fights you seriously.
Ew.
Yeah, but the Baroth was the one that we like hammer smacked into oblivion. I fought that thing on my own, and it had a lot of like cool charge and slam attacks. But one of my favorites was it would like actively seek out mud nearby and like armor itself up, so you had to constantly like make sure it wouldn't run towards mud. And if it did, if you had like a water shot, you could actually get all the mud off of him before it like re-hardened and, you know, gave him an armor boost.
Oh wait, did he have some kind of internal fire that would bake the mud on him?
I guess. I mean, it's a video game.
Yeah,
if you're a big enough creature, that's just called body heat.
Yeah.
It's like how dinosaurs roll cold-blooded, but they were so big they were like functionally warm-blooded.
Yep. But
that's true.
I don't know. I heard it somewhere. It's probably a Snapple lie, like all the Snapple caps.
They were able to find some well-preserved hearts of iguanodons and whatnot, and they were trying to determine whether or not they actually had the capability of having, like, their chambers were different or something was weird. So they're like, oh, but maybe they were warm-blooded, but
anyway.
But so at one point it runs over to a bunch of like this big muddy flat area. And then another monster just pops out of the mud and starts like brawling with it. And I'm just like, I'm here, try and hit one of you, I guess. I don't want to hit both. You know what? I'm just going to stand back here and watch for a while. And they brawled for a while. And then like backed off enough. And the muddy one that I've been injuring the entire time is like, well, screw this, I'm out. And he runs off to a different location. And it was just kind of cool to have like a little moment where two monsters started like facing off against each other. And they will like actually duke it out if you keep them in the same location, though that's kind of hard. But like one of there were two harder fights that I did. There were a bunch of harder fights that I did, but two like stood out. All of the flying ones are really hard because generally all of the flying monsters in the game have like breath weapons or like ranged attacks, and you have to figure out how to down them without like getting hit yourself. And so one of them would just shoot fire all over the place, and I was just, there was nothing I could do. Every time it just breathed fire, would nuke me. And then for some reason the other one would like dig underground, even though it had wings. It was mostly subterranean, which was just confusing.
I would actually like a game where instead of slaying monsters over and over and over again for their parts and materials, it'd be nice if you had a monster collection game and you can have like mounted combat and all that other stuff.
That's called Re-Legend. It's coming out sometime in like 2019.
Well, wasn't there also another game that was canceled that was like you could tame dragons?
You're talking about Scalebound, the game that almost killed Platinum. Yeah.
Scalebound is special.
I don't know if you could really even tame dragons. I think you just were a character who had a dragon.
Yeah, you had
really?
a dragon.
You just had one dragon?
Yeah, but that was a cool almost maybe game. But that's true of like anything Platinum would make, probably.
What else have they made?
It's true of anything that never comes out, so we can never know what was wrong with it.
Yeah.
They made Nier Automata.
Yeah.
Yep. They also made Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
So how did
the Legend of Korra game had great combat, but it was very clear that they were phoning it in as quickly as possible.
They made they worked on Okami, but I don't think they got credited for it, right?
Yeah. They did Beautiful Joe, they did Wonderful 101, they did Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Like
that's the
they've
big
actually
one.
made some pretty great games. Weird, but great. I think
they kind of just like flip
favorite.
between like different studios to like partner with, and then they kind of help on those titles.
They're a studio that has never managed to get enough critical success to stand on their own, kind of like how Obsidian was for a while.
Yeah,
and so they were kind of at the mercy of other publishers and stuff.
Even their big success with Nier Automata, like still, it ends up being super attributed to Square Enix. Of course, it looks like a Square Enix game, so I guess it shouldn't be too surprising.
I think Nier Automata's success is mostly attributed to Yoko Taro, Endless Platinum, though it did save the studio from going into bankruptcy. But from everything I've heard, it sounds like Square Enix is already like probably getting them working on another one. So
cool. There should be more.
The game that saved two things at once, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Save Nier / Yoko Taro's. It wasn't Yoko Taro about to quit anyway. Like
I don't think he was in a good place at that time with this stuff.
Yeah.
I think he functionally has like almost a situation like I think I heard Yoko Taro has a situation that's kind of comparable to the guy that does Smash Brothers and Kirby, where it's like he just wants to make the one thing, so he does the other thing to justify it, and he just sort of has like a relationship within the company that has like a deal worked out where he can go back and forth.
So the Kirby guy wants to make more Kirby, but they keep making him do Smash Brothers.
Yeah, they're like go make Smash Brothers, and we'll keep greenlighting your Kirby games.
Basically,
wow. Is that really how it works?
It seems to be, yeah. But
I always wondered
it was
why
also
Hal
a deal
made,
he worked out with Iwata, so who knows if he'll keep doing it.
I always wondered why HAL, of all people, were the people that made Super Smash Brothers.
The weird part is they only made the first one. They haven't worked on any of the future ones.
It's the same director, though.
Yeah.
I forget who precisely, but there were these two guys who made a ton of, classic Disney movies in the 90s and whatnot, but their dream was always to make Treasure Planet, and Disney is just like, nah, we're not going to let you make that until you make this, until finally they had enough success. They're like, let's finally do our dream, which is Treasure Planet.
That was a mistake.
Understated film.
That should teach you what happens when you follow your dreams. When everyone's telling you probably shouldn't do that. So, there you are.
I actually really enjoy Treasure Planet, though.
I thought it was very pretty. I couldn't care less about the plot, though.
Well, it's Treasure Island.
Yeah. I wanted to say just about the Super Smash Brothers thing. It was actually made by Namco Bandai, the most recent Smash Brothers. Oh. Which actually surprised the hell out of me.
Well, maybe Bandai, do they have a deal to make the amiibos or something? Or
no.
I mean, not a single one of them was made by the same company.
Yeah, which always surprised me because I thought it was one team because like Nintendo usually has one team work on their first party things.
But Masahiro Sakurai is the director every single time.
Yeah, but Super Smash Brothers is never. It's always been second party.
Yeah, which surprises me because like that was the mainline thing for years.
Yeah.
Until I think Brawl was kind of the end of the goodwill for Smash Bros, and now it's just kind of the good fighting game as opposed to the only fighting game.
I want the new Metroid game to come out.
Speaking of, they're the ones supposedly working on Metroid 4. It's not
Namco is?
Namco Bandai is working on Metroid 4, not
Retro.
Not Retro Studios. I don't even know what Retro Studios is up to anymore.
I thought that they were going to be too busy making the next Pac-Man.
Or Code Vein. No, Namco Bandai is huge.
Yeah, so, like, Namco Bandai does cool stuff. They did Dark Souls, damn it.
Well,
I need to give them respect.
Souls.
I know, publishing means they did it.
That's how things work.
Yeah, the reason why Retro Studios isn't working on Metroid Prime 4 is because they're the Donkey Kong people.
Even that was 3 years ago, though.
It's
the last Tropical Freeze was 3 years ago already. They're supposedly working on some unannounced thing, and we just don't have any information. Which is probably not Donkey Kong unless they're spending an ungodly amount of time on it on a side-scrolling platformer.
What was the last Donkey Kong game? Even the last one I can think of is Donkey Kong 64.
No, there was Donkey Kong Returns.
Tropical Freeze 2014 is the one I was just talking about.
Yeah. Well, they made Donkey Kong Returns, which was the side-scrolling platformer kind of returned to form. And that was on the Wii in 2010. And then 4 years later, they did Tropical Freeze, which is considered to be even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should pick up some of these Donkey Kongs because I really, really liked Donkey Kong as a kid.
You don't have
a Switch?
You have a 3DS.
Yes.
So you can get Donkey Kong Returns on the 3DS.
Oh.
Yes.
Donkey Kong Returns 3DS. I've been looking to actually buy Switch games. I mean, not Switch games. 3DS games.
I kind of fell off that platform when I realized I couldn't record anything from it. It's like, well, it's not worth it.
Yeah, well, that's you.
Yeah.
When I was shopping around for...
When I want to play video games, I don't want to record them. I play Warcraft 2. All right? I need something new.
I need to feel again. How do I feel?
Shop for my brother's birthday. Looking at the prices, Wii games are just astoundingly high, and I know it's because they're no longer in production.
Games are going up in price, and until like Nintendo makes a digital store for like backwards compatible games.
Nintendo also refuses to reduce the price of any of their first party games.
Also that, yeah.
Right, but
like,
these were
what's
for
that?
like
Skyward Sword
games.
came out 100 years ago? Too bad, $50.
Yep.
Yeah, so I ended up getting a Nintendo 64 game for him.
It is exactly $50 still. Wow.
Yep.
They don't go down in
Nintendo
price.
is nothing if not consistent. Just also oof. So can I take us on a different direction?
Sure.
Oh,
you're the
Redwall game has new screenshots available.
Wait, what? Oh man, you said a different direction. I didn't realize it was going to be like back in the time.
Yeah, back in time podcast
wise. Take you back to the past.
Oh boy, Soma Games.
Yeah, so they, as of October 26th, I didn't notice this until it popped up in my upcoming list, and I can talk about that in a bit. They have quote-unquote gameplay footage, which looks straight out of early GameCube, maybe? I'm not even sure if there's gameplay. It's mostly just camera sweeps over, look at how nice our environment is.
Which it doesn't look good.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a little bit better than what they had the last time, which was some tech models and concept art.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God, that movie.
Mouse is not...
I need to see this video. Can you send a link? And then
it's in podcast already.
Well, at the beginning of the podcast, I was watching The Road to Redwall on loop over and over again for a bit, and like I was so baffled by like this being like a demo of like, look at this quality product you've kickstarted, and all the comments are so positive, but every single thing I see is like, oh, look, that incredibly stilted and awkward fake looking animation, and look at that guy holding something but his hands aren't touching it, and look at that guy moving a thing through his own body, and like there's only like 4 moving objects on the screen, and they're all misanimated and clipping through each other, and it's
the interiors almost look okay.
Which clip are we talking about, Wander?
I'd say watch the first one and go to the last.
An Epic Tale of Redwall the Scout.
Yeah, that's the one.
I'm actually going to put this on display capture. We should try to all watch this at the same time.
Yes. Okay, so I'm starting over.
Okay.
So, I don't hate it, but it's like, I feel like if I were a developer trying to cash in on like,
you got that plastic hair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, it's like baked into the model.
To be fair, I would rather have like well sculpted plastic hair than like Sif hair, because Sif like. I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Viva Pinata hair.
And they have Sif hair for like fur coats and stuff, and it just looks really awkward.
It looks absurd.
It's like here's a cartoony anime guy, and for some reason his collar is like weird and blurry, and it's like
Oh,
I don't like
every
that.
time the camera pans up, you see the weird nightmare cloud of trees. That's just a weird mash of... It's like a wall of leaves.
Yeah, it's just copy-pasted trees,
the run
too.
animation.
Yeah. But that run animation, look at how fast they're going.
Well,
you're going to get places fast in this game.
Those paw prints are not landing where his feet are landing.
Better go save Redwall.
Maybe you should have tried having longer legs.
Yeah, or using your other two legs.
Wow, it's gonna take him like
the snow
45 seconds to cross a bridge. Oh, yep, that's some Tolkien biomage right there.
Yeah, that's a Minecraft biome.
I do actually kind of appreciate the detail work in the second one. Like, if the whole game kind of looked like this, if they made the entire game interior, I might almost say like, it doesn't look terrible. The like
for some reason
statues.
I wasn't able to watch that. It was very choppy.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I'm watching the second trailer now, which is like, look how nice the study room is.
But this is the room we saw in the screenshots last time, where they use the same window over and over again and just keep resizing it into different, like they stretch it to different shapes all over the room.
They're not showing that angle right now. They're really showing off their
I saw it already at the beginning of the video. The high up windows and the low down windows are the same window, but the low down ones that are narrow are just the wide ones squished to be narrower. You can tell it from its texture and its and like the mesh all over the window is a different shape to fit. Oh god, there's even more. There's like 3 different shapes for the same window.
Yeah.
Why is there so many windows in this room?
An abbey, duh. But to finish what I was trying to say, if I were trying to cash in on older beloved product and like, make it worth buying, I'd be trying real hard to show it off, not in terms of like, this game looks like a tech demo.
Yeah. Every time they've shown it.
It looks like a student project that's like trying to be
investors.
Yeah, honestly, this thing looks like something I would expect to see coming out of DigiPen.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that because of Kickstarter and other things, there's the pressure to show progress because they don't want people feeling that their money wasn't well spent?
I mean, I will give them credit.
That was always there. You either show it to people that kickstarted you, or you show it to the people that are paying you.
I mean, particularly the second video looks like they were showing off their resize tool of like, look, you can change this thing to different shapes and it still works. And then they just left them all in there, even though they're haphazardly thrown like... There's like 7 windows per wall, and they're haphazard. Like they're not lined up, and there are different shapes and directions. And also, one of them dramatically has a beam of light coming out of it towards the sword, but all the other windows on that wall don't have light coming through them. It doesn't look like it was supposed to be seen by somebody. It looks like somebody was tooling around internally. Weird.
But yeah, I was just watching these trailers. I've yet to see a lick of gameplay or UI or anything like that, and it's just like this is not how you inspire confidence, especially like in a market that's so just buried in games. I actually got a key for a game that looked actually really nice that came out 2 months ago, and I had no idea. And I was looking at it, and every time a developer sends me a key months after the game's release, I want to say like, where were you when this game came out? Like, or before it? Like, I mean, it's clear you want marketing, and I might actually cover your game just because it looks really good, but like, shouldn't you have been doing this at some point leading up to the release? And I feel like a lot of developers aren't kind of getting the fact that you can't just put a game out anymore. Even if it is like tied to a big product or like a big name developer or anything like that, unless like you're actually marketing it yourself, it just gets buried under anime shit.
The Christmas spirit in the third video, the little mouse kid repeatedly hooks their own eye out of its socket with a candy cane just over and over again.
Yep. I was watching that. Yeah.
Stab, stab, stab.
Apparently I'm watching Badger repeatedly.
Just left that in the video.
Warm his hands by the fire.
Yeah. As they like zoom in on it. Like, I don't know. I guess maybe I was a big Redwall fan, so like watching this just kind of offends me. It's just like,
whatever happened with Moss?
It's not out yet.
What is Moss?
I don't know when it's coming out.
That looked
Moss
beautiful.
is a VR game. It's the first VR game I've ever been interested in.
The mouse thing.
Yeah,
gotcha.
where it's like a little mouse hero, and it communicates in sign language because you can't talk to it, and like, you are kind of this floating entity that you're trying to like solve puzzles so Moss can get through.
Okay.
and it looks kind of very Redwall-y. You know, Moss has a little sword and is like kind of adventuring in a dungeon or something, and it
wonderfully animated.
Yeah, it was very very nicely animated, and a lot of like
this
great
does
detail.
look super Redwall-y, except he's not wearing pants.
Yeah. Did they wear pants that often in Redwall? I don't.
No, not often.
Yeah, they wore cloaks and tunics and pants, didn't they?
Not all of them wore pants.
Oh yeah, what do you know?
Even in the
there's like a half and half pants situation going on here.
Yeah, they often will wear a tunic.
All the mice don't seem to wear pants.
What the fuck? Okay, I have a.
There's no rules. I can't figure out like when what. It seems like if the animal's big enough, they wear pants. Otherwise, they don't.
I'm looking at a hare right now who has pants on and like foppish boots. He also has like a bulging codpiece, which is just very strange.
Huh.
I don't know what they were trying to do with that one, but yeah, it looks like pants are partially optional.
I've
looks
now
like
Googled Redwall codpiece. I have a picture of a squirrel.
Oh, I found it.
I put it in podcast chat if you can't find it.
That's the one.
Oh my god.
Hazel stag hair.
I don't really get what's going on there. It's just happening.
The eyes are weird.
Just something.
Yeah.
Someone drew lines for a reason somewhere. It looks like Clockwork Orange.
Oh yeah, you're right. He does look like Alex.
Yeah.
Wow. Funny.
It absolutely.
I don't know.
The weird costumes they wore. Where they like, I have ball padding and nothing else. That's all I'm wearing. I'm like, I don't know what they're wearing. I'm just confused.
Unless it isn't.
Is this a sports
and it's
thing?
showing just indicative of the. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it.
Nah, in Clockwork Orange, they clearly had some. In Clockwork Orange, they always clearly had a weird padded thing flopping around on the outside of their clothes, and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. What is this?
In Clockwork Orange, they were wearing like long underwear with suspenders on top of it. I don't know. I saw Clockwork Orange like I think probably about a year ago. Just I watched it on Netflix because I was like, oh, I've heard of this movie. I want to see it. And I kind of want my afternoon back because it was really long and I didn't like it from start to finish. And it was also super depressing. So it's like it's the worst combination.
Well, now you know what young Malcolm McDowell looks like.
What does old Malcolm McDowell look like?
In
Malcolm
part because is there an eyeball slicing scene?
No,
that is a completely different, much older movie.
That's Unshun and
That's another movie. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The song that Debaser's based on, which is the whole reason I know about it.
But Clockwork Orange still has like
the movie that the
one guy
song
had to
Debaser's
have
based
his eyelids opened forcefully, right?
Yeah,
He
keep
has
his eye up.
the
Yeah,
Ludovico technique.
It's the go-to brainwashing thing that they parody in everything ever.
Yeah.
Where your eyes are kept open and you're looking at a screen. I think it started with... Did it start with Clockwork Orange?
Yes, that's a scene from A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, I know it's in it, but I don't know if it started there. But at least I think specifically Clockwork is what everyone's referencing when they put that scene in their like children's cartoon.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I think it must be in part because you would think that, oh, if someone could just blink their eyes, turn away. But not if their lids are kept open. But couldn't you still roll your eyes back into your head? It's very difficult to do, though.
I'm not going to really brainstorm Ludovico technique survival techniques. doesn't sound pleasant.
Nope.
But I saw A Clockwork Orange, and then I also saw Platoon. No, not Platoon. Platoon was okay. What's it called? The other Stanley Kubrick movies. I've always a theme with Stanley Kubrick movies and
2001?
I hate them. I hate all of them. No, I'm talking about God damn, the one with it was about Vietnam. What was it even called? Full Metal Jacket. I watched that and I had the exact same experience with it, where it was like this movie is long. It's not amazing, and I want my afternoon back because it's depressing. So yeah, and then that's how I kind of felt about 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that's kind of how I felt about The Warriors, and that's kind of how I felt about Doki Doki Literature Club, and
I'm looking at the list now. I think Clockwork Orange is the only Kubrick film I've ever seen.
I mean,
one of these days I'll get around to 2001 for at least on an academic level of just getting that out of the way.
You haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I mean, that was the implication of me saying I haven't seen any of them. Yeah.
It's just
never seen Full Metal Jacket or Lolita or Shining.
He made a movie adaptation of Lolita.
Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, he did Lolita 1962. That's the one with the hard glasses on the cover.
Oh. Never even...
Oh, I know, but Eyes Wide Shut
wow, the poster asked the main question that I had, which is, how did they ever make a movie of Lolita?
Well, I know, but Eyes Wide Shut is something orgy cult.
I don't know. Why do we... This is stupid. Stanley Kubrick sucks. There you go.
If you want to ask how we got on the subject, it was because there was a weird bulge on a rabbit.
Yep.
Just to recap.
Yep.
Then we started
I
talking
like
about
The
Lolita.
Warriors because The Warriors was a bad movie, but it was also short and it had really stupid looking costumes all over the place. So it eliminated one of the things I didn't like about A Clockwork Orange, in that it was much shorter than A Clockwork Orange. So there you go. There's my comparison of A Clockwork Orange to
and this is my
Warriors.
explanation of why Badger Badger Batter is better than Clockwork Orange, because it is only like 20 seconds long.
Well,
oh Lord have mercy.
What happened?
All right, Steam sales coming up on the 21st. Anybody have any titles looking to pick up?
Well, sort of. There's a game called Tiny Metal, which had some controversy, that's coming out on the 21st.
Why controversy?
The morons. They kickstarted a game called Project Phoenix.
Okay.
Came out. Project Phoenix was like years ago, like 2012. And or Operation Phoenix, I don't entirely remember.
And they didn't deliver?
Yeah, they didn't deliver.
So
it.
they're
A lot of people-
explicitly making Advance Wars.
Yeah, so they're explicitly making kind of like
an
Advance Wars thing. And I'm actually kind of excited for it because the developers for Advance Wars certainly aren't making any new Advance Wars. Actually, they might be.
Dude,
This is Advance Wars.
They cannot even pretend. Yeah, this is explicitly an indie 3D Advance Wars game.
Yeah, I'm still excited for it because I've never played Advance Wars before, and it would be kind of neat to play something. And like, I don't know.
I liked Advance Wars a lot when I was 12 or whatever, and I haven't really touched it since, so I don't know. But it was like Fire Emblem with disposable units.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was Fire Emblem with disposable units, and you can make units, like buy them and manufacture them and stuff.
You'll usually have like
what was the controversy they were talking about?
Looking it up. So Tiny Metal was delayed, and this is where I'd heard this at first. Okay, it was Project Phoenix. Was a 2013 Kickstarter.
And they used it to fund this game or these accusations?
Yeah, so a lot of people are super mad at this developer because Project Phoenix I don't think got made. I don't think they did. I've never heard of Project Phoenix as a game. They had like a bunch of stuff, but I
want to say we talked about Project Phoenix.
No, they've got announcement for it. I know Project Phoenix. I've been reading about this for ages.
Yeah, I think we talked about it before on the podcast.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about it because it's one of those like Kickstarters that kind of went away and then ran out of funding and then like downsized and then did other things and then back and then I guess they're making Tiny Metal probably because they can't make Project Phoenix fast enough. They really have been working on this for ages, but they just put out one.
Double up and work on a separate game?
Sometimes it's because the project is too big.
Usually it's because they have absolutely no idea how to manage anything, so they just get bored and then switch gears.
Like Valve right now.
Yeah.
What's Valve doing?
They don't make any games because every time someone starts one, they're like, I got like 10 people together for this, and then lose motivation, and then it just falls apart.
Yeah.
Supposedly, someone has started making Half-Life 3 like 5 times now.
Yeah, I read the plot of Half-Life 3. It was really cool. Like that thing that got leaked a couple of months ago.
But so just to finish the thing about Tiny Metal, so they made Tiny Metal so that they could get more money for Project Phoenix. Because if Tiny Metal's good, then clearly they're a good developer, and then then investors will love them again.
So they just started off with the more ambitious project.
So that's why they're just shamelessly making somebody else's game.
Correct. I think actually a number of them did work on Advance Wars, so like it's almost kind of forgivable. But at the same time, it's kind of shameless. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, but it was supposed to come out back like right before Thanksgiving, which was a fine time. And so I was like, okay, I know they pushed it back like a month or so. Let's see when it's coming out. Oh, the day of the Steam sale. That's a dumb idea. You never want to do that. Like
they're nailing it is what they're doing.
Yeah, I have known developers that released... Oh, wasn't that the issue with that... No, it wasn't that issue with that mech game that we talk about every once in a while as being like this kind of weird failure. That you'd played and I had.
Brigador?
Yeah, Brigador.
Brigador just didn't do well, period.
Yeah, Brigador just didn't do well. I'd picked up and played an indie game that came out during the Steam Summer Sale, like back in 2016. And it was a fantastic game, but since it came out during the Steam sale, they made no money. Like even now it only has about like 15 reviews on Steam. And
it makes
like
no
my
reason.
series
It makes no sense to do that unless you're going to specifically be like, fuck it, it's 90% off at launch, get in while you can.
Yeah, that would almost make sense.
That's about the worst possible time you can launch a title. Is in the middle of a big
Black
sale
Friday.
like that.
And so I will probably pick this game up because I can't imagine I'm going to get a press copy, and it's the #1 game I'm looking forward to in the Steam sale, which is not going to be on sale and is being released at a goddamn stupid time, but anyway, I just had to bring that up. Do we actually have games that are going to be on sale that we're looking forward to?
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
You'd have to look.
There's a visual novel dating sim that Shell's looking forward to.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Rose of Winter.
I
It
just
just
use the
looks
Steam
adorable. And I wouldn't mind being a lady knight.
It has adventure, romance, and heartbreak.
But like if you look at the fourth screenshot, there's like a dude with horns and he's got like weird bug eyes. And like I can only imagine I'm gonna be voice acting every single man, and
I know it's maybe idiots to fight this thing. And I would go without running to those church me of escaping.
Rob Schneider is.
I don't know. I just saw that this looked like one of the few on the entirety of Steam that looked appropriate.
yeah, there are not a whole lot of actually fun-looking visual novels, but like after Pyre, I've wanted to play some.
Yeah,
Play
because we loved it.
999.
No,
We can
that is a
exchange
black
war
hole.
Stories.
That is a black hole of poop.
Someone
I
needs
don't
to
wanna.
somebody needs to share this experience with me.
You've tried to
You shared
get
it with
everybody,
Andrew.
and none of us are biting, dude. None of
It's
us are biting.
appropriate. There's no sex scenes, Shell. It's totally safe.
But isn't there
You see, when you describe
psychological
it that
trauma
way-
that's going on?
Well, there might be bombs inside people. Like Battle Royale.
But so it induces psychological trauma.
Well, it's one of those. It's one of the 5,000 different properties that are like, it's a Japanese death game. You gotta get through this thing. There's a time limit. If you break the rules, you die. That stuff. Like Yu-Gi-Oh.
I hate those.
But like uncensored Yu-Gi-Oh. There's no Shadow Realm.
Just death.
Just death.
I actually, you know how Netflix and Amazon, if you want to get Netflix obviously you pay into it, but Amazon has a lot of free things that you get with Prime.
Yeah.
So I found just they want to be cool, high budget films with good special effects, but they're really
What,
just
visual novels?
No, not visual novels, just like movies.
Oh,
And
yeah, okay.
there's
Don't
so
worry,
many
there
of
won't
them.
be any connection to the previous topic.
No, there is. But there are so many of them that involve these high-stake games where everyone will perish if they don't follow through with the game. And I think there was this one where they had like gathered a bunch of people that were top players in some kind of online shooter, and they put them in a real situation where they had gear and stats and had to acquire weapons. And at first they thought it was a game, but then they realized they were actually dying from it, and they were actually being attacked by real. But they weren't even in the game. It was literally
it's
built
Gamer,
into
right?
Huh?
Isn't it the movie Gamer? Where like they're controlling prisoners in a gunfight, and if they die, they die for real because it's actually a real fight, but they're controlling them via video games. I don't
think it's Gamer, but
there's been so many of them that they're incomprehensibly similar at this point. The frustrating trope too is that when they do American versions, they don't have the stomach to commit to like what's gross, because like the thing in the Japanese ones is usually a bunch of students that are all like in a death game, and it's like weirdly morbid. So they always go back on that when they do American versions of death games. So the American version trope is that it's always prisoners. So it's always a bunch of prisoners, and that are all going to die if they don't succeed at the game. But simultaneously, whoever the lead character is also always the falsely accused, falsely imprisoned prisoner. And it's happened like 10 movies now, and I'm like, God damn it. It's in Condemned, it's in Gamer, it's in Death Race, it's just in, like, all of them. It's always like, all the prisoners are in a death competition, but the main character was falsely accused and imprisoned, and yet the twist at the end is that the guy making the game in the first place is the one who falsely imprisoned him, and the movie ends with him killing the guy that made the entire game in the first place. And
one of the oldest ones that...
Gerard Butler was in Gamer?
Yes.
Yeah, he was the protagonist, sorta.
Wow, Gerard Butler stars in some really shitty movies.
Yes. Yes, he does.
I think one of the early ones that followed this plot line, wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie where he and a bunch of convicts were shipped off to an island?
Marathon Man? Is that what it's called?
I forget the title of it because it's one of the few Arnold Schwarzenegger movies my dad doesn't have.
Oh, I'm thinking of
like
Sylvester Stallone, I think.
80s collection. Can you look it up?
I mean...
Sorry. I tend to check out
Arnold Schwarzenegger was in The Running Man.
Running Man.
Is it Running Man? Yeah.
I was like, is it Running Man or Marathon Man or Logan's Run?
Oh yeah, Running.
Of course, the first thing that
Running
comes
Man
up is a TV series.
Is I think the one that you're talking about, right? It's the one where they have to, or like the convicts have to fight in like dystopian 1980s.
Man must try to survive a public execution gauntlet stage as a game show.
They're always falsely accused. They're never.
Well, that's how you know they're good, unlike the other criminals who are
stupid
evil.
Because a character arc would involve redemption, but there's nothing to redeem if the guy was actually just falsely accused. So he doesn't have a character arc.
Well,
also, if I was
the character arc for the good protagonist is usually they have to contend with all of the
redemption isn't internal, the redemption is external, because it's a lot easier than actually having character depth of a person that's realizing they fucked up and, you know, trying to atone for their mistakes.
Well, no, often it's they're being taken out of their cushy life and being forced to become like the criminals that they...
That's just the heroic journey. That has nothing to do with character.
Paula Abdul was credited with the choreography of the Running Man dance troupe. That's a weird line to read out of context.
I did want to say, it always bugs me in these movies where they have like a wrongly accused man. It's like, if I were to pick people to wrongly accuse, I wouldn't pick Schwarzenegger. Like, I'd pick Ben from Accounting, but not anybody built.
Yeah, you want to pick a guy who looks like me.
Not
a guy who looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Usually the gimmick is that the guy running the event is some sociopath that's like streaming it online for views for tons of money based on the viewership, and they want like good competitors, so they're essentially kidnapping people into it by like, oh yeah, these are all convicts, but that guy, I want that guy in it. So they they get him for a false murder charge of his wife or something.
Have you ever heard the joke? It's like when running away from a bear, make sure you run just a little bit faster than the other person. I always have that problem when like watching these movies of like, you know, they just more or less put their kryptonite in there, and they're just like, it'll be fine, he'll die, and then, you know, inevitably it doesn't. It's like, if I were running this, I'd pick the people that are just shy of the mark, as opposed to like very clearly could probably handle all of this. It's like, you know, maybe some like buff dude that has asthma, so like he looks like he's gonna do like a really good job, and he's like kicking ass for a while, but after a certain point, you know, the Achilles heel kicks in and he kicks the bucket before he can actually threaten you or like you know, return for vengeance in any way, shape, or form. I just have trouble watching Schwarzenegger movies because it's always some dickhead decides to piss off, you know, Schwarzenegger. It's like, do you see this man? Do you see how large he is?
No, the funny thing was,
all of your reality is false, Quaid.
He's such a weird duckling in Total Recall, and
he's such a weird duckling in anything. Like, that's why he made such a good Terminator, because he didn't fit.
Well, in Terminator, he was just supposed to be a monotone death robot killing machine.
Yeah, and it worked because he was like menacing and very clearly like the most dangerous thing there. Kind of bugged me when
the Total Recall. I can't. Why did they make a remake? Why?
The other problem I run into with
somebody had the rights.
What was that shitty movie where he was pregnant?
Oh no, I've never seen that.
Yeah, that was the first time I had ever seen Schwarzenegger in a movie.
Oh yeah, you can never take him serious after seeing
I couldn't go back from that.
I think my first Schwarzenegger movie was Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that was my second. My progress through the Schwarzenegger movie list has been kind of a bell curve of starting with Junior, then that one, then
God damn.
Then dun, 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 dun.
I think I saw like Commando somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I've never seen
the first Schwarzenegger movie I saw was Terminator 2. So
mine was
I was
Terminator.
set for a high bar right
You
away.
either dodged Schwarzenegger movies for a long time or started Terminator very young.
It was the latter.
Yeah, my parents just didn't show me Terminator until high school. At which point I was just like, "There's a lot of plot holes here, but I guess this is okay."
I just watched Terminator on TV because then I saw like the censored like I don't know, like, oh, he didn't stab that person. He just like asked her politely to leave her own house.
I used to see the inappropriate movies in theaters, but then people kept like looking at my parents weird for it, so they stopped taking me. Like I saw Starship Troopers in theaters at the age 7.
Yeah, I mean,
I loved it.
I think when Terminator, I don't know when Terminator 2 came out, but I would have been like
1992.
Okay, yeah, so I would have been like 3.
I think.
So obviously, my first exposure to Terminator was not, you know, when it was new. It was like on VHS or something, or I don't know, like years later.
Our version of Terminator was filmed from television, and you can see Tom Brokaw when he was young and had brown hair, and some of the commercials and news stuff that was going on. It's such a nice thing to have those integrated into the programming that it would be shown alongside. Because
I had the same exposure to Vin Diesel that I did with Schwarzenegger. The first Vin Diesel movie I ever saw was the one where he was the babysitter.
My first video I saw him in was Pitch Black.
Yeah. So you actually got a good movie that you'd like him in, and I got a weird bad movie.
I remember one time I was in a Secret Santa, and I was really young, and I was a huge procrastinator, and I also I wasn't like super considerate of people very often. So, I mean, I was, but like this time I wasn't.
I got you a rock.
So I was like, oh shit, I have a Secret Santa tomorrow. What should I get? What should I bring? It wasn't a Secret Santa, it was a white elephant, so I had no idea of knowing who would get it. And so I got a Steven Seagal VHS. Now, granted, DVDs had been around for years. But I got a Steven Seagal VHS because I was like, okay, this will work. And then I gave that as the white elephant. And turns out that in this white elephant, everybody procrastinated on it. So that wasn't even the shittiest gift. Like, it was
somebody
just
actually
like,
get a rock.
No, I don't even remember. But I just remember, like, after opening 3 of them, like, we just kind of as a group looked around and we were like, none of us
are good people.
Tried. So it ended up, like, working out pretty fine, but...
Wander's another horrifying childhood story was how he had gotten some kids leftover
This wasn't childhood. This was when I was 16.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So that's childhood.
Yeah. So I don't like white elephant gifts. I don't like Secret Santa. I don't like round robin, grab bag, whatever thing. Don't give me a gift at all, or give me something that's at least mildly associated with me. Because I want to say, like, freshman and a sophomore year of high school, I was in Scouts and also church youth group at the time.
Oh, so that's 2 opportunities to have horrible white elephants.
And so Boy Scouts
we're gonna have
was
to explain
much...
what that is, by the way.
Okay.
Finish the story first, then we'll explain it.
So I think it varies regionally, because the way it worked with the ones that I went to in Boston were everybody picked a number.
You go in that order.
And you'd go in that order, you pick a random gift, and then you could steal a gift from somebody else.
But it can't be stolen more than 3 times.
That was not a limitation.
That's a limitation in my family.
Yeah.
Except everyone ends up getting gift cards anyway.
Yeah.
To back it up slightly more than that, it's just that everyone brings a gift, they're all in a pile, and no one knows what's inside of them besides like what the box looks like, and you take turns grabbing one, and then whoever's next can either grab from the pile or from a previous person who has probably opened their gift at that point, I think.
Yep.
And that's the
no, nobody... You can't open them, right?
Like I had to...
They would with mine.
In ours,
we always open them, yeah.
Yeah,
I just wanted to explain, because I talked about this with my international audience before in Discord, and nobody knew what we were talking about.
Oh, okay.
Not even one person that's not from the U.S.
Yeah, in my family, everyone has a number. The first person chooses a gift, opens it. They go, oh, yeah, this is nice. Second person can choose to steal their gift or pick a new gift, and it just keeps going.
Yeah. So anyway, your story?
So for Scouts, it was pretty simple and easy. I got a spoon.
What?
Like one of those neoprene spoons. Because it was Scouts, like, okay, you get some cooking supplies.
I did.
You get a plastic spoon.
That was the exact same thing. I did a Boy Scouts white elephant, and it was like, here's like sock warmers and like just camping shit like that. It's awful.
And like, I had gone out of my way to get like kind of a nice, cool, useful thing, and it was very clear that somebody just grabbed something off the shelf, and I was just like,
yeah.
But so the follow-up was, I want to say like a week before or a week after or something like that. Like it was pretty close, like time-wise. I was with my youth group, and it was kind of a quiet youth group. We didn't do much together. There were like kind of activities, but most of the time it would just be people hanging out and like maybe talking about stuff. I don't actually remember any church-related stuff with the youth group, just going to a cool island and hanging out for a week and singing Christmas carols to old people, which was cool. But I wasn't really friends with anybody in my youth group, and I don't think I ever wanted to be, because like most of them were girls, and high school don't always end up crossing the gender gap, especially with like strangers. But there was a guy, I think he was 2 years younger than me, and he was the younger brother to one of my classmates. And so I think there were about 10, 12 of us in the room, and it was White Elephant, and I'm like, okay, I pick whatever, and I get a CD book, and that's actually kind of useful for me. Because at this point I had a lot of, burnt DVDs of various like music and games and whatnot. And so that was kind of handy, and it immediately gets stolen from me, so I have to get another gift or something like that. But effectively, there was only one gift left, and it was a big, like, those gallon buckets of ice cream?
Uh-huh.
And I open it up, and it's filled with tissues. I take out the tissues. I mean, they're not used. They're just crumpled up to make it seem fancy. And inside are a bunch of broken McDonald's toys and toys of even lower caliber than that. Like, things that you get out of a vending machine for 25 cents that, maybe you, like, press on them and then they like, do a flip.
They cleaned out their junk drawer,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, really.
They cleaned out their, like, shitty junk drawer and then handed it to me, and I, like, look over to the kid, because I knew who it was, because he had this big shit-eating grin on his face. And I was like, really? Like, what? And like, I actually just straight up called him out on it. I'm like, this actually isn't cool. And he's like, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, I
don't accept it.
Well, yeah, I just left it there and I left and I never came back.
Conflicting interactions with humans.
Yes.
Yeah. And inevitably what happened was the pastor at the time, he had ended up with the CD book because he wanted it too, I guess. And he like
CD
finds
book to a pastor?
Yeah, well, I mean,
radical.
They're humans. They probably get things.
Did he end up giving it back to you, or what?
Yeah, the pastor ended up giving me the
pun about
how
a CD book.
Oh my god,
to a pastor.
You know what? I missed that completely. Bravo, Keith. Bravo. But yeah, so he ends up giving it to me. But after that, I was just like, I give up on this place. It's just not worth it. And then I think a month later, we were there for like a meeting so people could discuss problems because membership was dropping precipitously. And the solution from one of the other people there was to force the kids to go anyway. And change nothing. And I was just like, well, this is done. And my parents, this is the end of it for me. And my mother was like, yep, let's never go back.
I dropped out of mine when I realized that half the kids were the like terrible bullies in school, and they would put on just the sweetest demeanors when they were in the group.
I never joined a youth group. I knew somebody that was in a youth group, and I like hung out with I went to one of their youth group gatherings or whatever, and I met like all of like it was just like a gaggle of homeschooled kids like that I'd never seen before in my life. And then there was like me and my friends, and like we had social skills and none of them had social skills. And that was a really fun afternoon because we taught them like what sarcasm was and like, just great things. Oh, it was the best.
Bird, how do you teach somebody what sarcasm is? Do you sarcasm the shit out of them?
Yes, you just sarcasm the shit out of them until they figure it out.
It leads to distrust, and the person will never believe you when you're telling the truth.
That's fine. I never saw any of those people again.
Yeah.
That's you not being able to understand sarcasm.
Well,
anyway,
I mean,
yeah,
I can pick up on some sarcasm.
This is why you never believe anything Bird says. I think this story is bullshit.
She's just trying to justify how she fell for Bird being a luchador.
She thought it was a play.
I don't know. You guys are zany enough. I thought that it was plausible that the school would put on.
Like actually, I'm really boring.
Insects.
I just make stuff up to sound more interesting. I don't even work on. I don't even work at Amazon. I'm actually unemployed.
I was just gonna talk about like I never even met the CEO, but no, you just went straight to my whole life's fake.
If it turns out that you're just like a shiftless, unemployed bum and Ladybird's taking care of you, I'm gonna be real mad.
Why?
Why would think of all the video games we could have played while you're bumming around doing nothing.
And then you wonder why I assume you're basically all business whenever we talk. Wander and I have this thing. Okay, I might as well just talk about this because it's kind of funny. So Wander and I have this thing where, like, both of us aren't really that great at small talk to begin with.
No, I am terrible at it.
Wander will occasionally like just message me to be like, you know, how's life going and stuff like that. You know, like
what are you up to? And
does.
you're like, I'm not available. I'm like, I just want to know what your life is like.
Coax out bunny farts.
I do have to do that. We can talk about that too now.
Yeah,
but like Wander will send me messages.
From divinity to fart your bunnies.
Wander will send me messages being like
burping.
Like what have you been up to lately? And I will assume that he's asking me purely for the sake of wanting to know if I'm available to stream or not. So I will respond like I'm not available tonight to like him like asking like how are you doing and stuff. And like eventually like Wander was like, I'm asking because I'm interested in your life. And I was like, not much. I've been drawing a lot lately.
I mean,
stuff like that.
Unfortunately, the older I get, the more I realize that in the past, social interactions with friends was more of a, you know, thing that was conveniently brought about by school and whatnot. But now it seems like
What's up with my
people
frame
really
rate? God damn.
only do approach you when they want something from you, and it's sad.
Yes, bird catcher.
I don't know what's happening. This is really bothering me. It's probably because I'm rendering a video in the background.
Oh yeah, if it's nearing the end of the render cycle, it'll like crank up.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. It's just it's at the very, very end of the render. Let's just pause this so I'm not super annoyed and Keith gets footage that isn't horrible.
Well,
I don't know if that's... Yep, that works much better now. Anyway, yeah, so I guess this is going to become an inside joke now. Bunny farting. So I own rabbits, and rabbits are cool, and they're also, like... Nature was not kind to rabbits and made them incredibly fragile. Like, incredibly fragile, because nature was like, yeah, you only get, like, 2 years tops. So, like, you being a durable animal is, like, not evolutionarily advantageous. So, we're just not gonna... We're gonna, like, make them, like, the most delicate things ever. And raising them really is very difficult. But like one thing that they get, especially when they get older, is they can be susceptible to bad gas like pretty easily, which means that like they basically like get like their insides get totally blocked up with like gas, and then they can't fart. So the way that you help them get through this is you give them baby gas medicine is like the primary way to do it. And then to help with pain relief, you can either give them like a pain relief drug, which is expensive, or you can just give them like a little massage on their stomach. So I lovingly refer to this process as farting the rabbits, because I'm just sitting there like rubbing their stomachs. I can't even hear it. Obviously, their farts are like totally silent because they themselves are evolutionarily programmed to be silent. So
most
it's
rabbits
like
I'm familiar with don't like being rolled onto their backs. So how do you
I don't
manage
do
to
it on their
that?
backs. I just kind of like shove my hand under them and just kind of like do. There's like videos on this
bunny and the inevitable farts.
Yeah, you just kind of rub their stomach, and like they quickly realize what you're doing, and they end up like relaxing a lot because it helps them a lot. It like really does relieve a lot of the pain and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I have to do this every once in a while when this like strikes them, because if I don't do anything about it, they just die, because
how do you know when it strikes?
That's how nature works.
Do they make their high-pitched squealing noises, or do they do something else?
No, I've never heard that noise. They if they stop
like
eating,
how a pufferfish looks, they start to like
that's actually super bad.
Like you can see like their skin because there's not enough space.
Oh, no.
That's called bloat, and if that happens, you have to go to the vet immediately.
I didn't realize that was a thing. I was just imagining like little puffer bunnies.
It's pretty disturbing. I would not Google image search that if I were you.
But
anyway,
bunnies inflating.
Yeah. So
imagine roadkill would probably be similar, right?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. So you just kind of sit there and like help them fart for a little while, and like the way you can tell if it's working is you'll hear like little gas bubbles. Those here be like, and then you know that they're like really like their insides are not blocked up anymore. The other way you know is if you do smell a bunny fart. Usually you can't, but sometimes you can, and it smells like it smells like hay. But like hay that has been processed by a rabbit's insides, so it smells
yes, that
fucking horrible. It smells like rotten sewagey hay. It's so goddamn gross, and you can't do anything about it.
Like long dead cut grass, wet and soggy, and
exactly. But also like it's been hanging out next to poop, so it has that smell associated with it too. And you're just like, oh god, I have to deal with this, because if I don't do this, you're going to die tonight. Like, they're so delicate. But yeah, so last night, one of them, I came home, I was like, I'm gonna feed you two, and he was like, I'm gonna pass on dinner, and I was like, that means you're sick. what's up with you? So we determined that he stopped farting and needed his bunny farting procedure. And
bunny fart.
Yep. And then like 3 hours later, he was totally fine. But it did mean that during Losa's climactic, like, ultimate plot line, I kept having to excuse myself to like go fart a rabbit for a minute or two and then go back and like be like, I'm choosing not to extinguish these candles. That ruined everything.
Crackers.
Oh hi.
We're watching you stream.
How
I
dare
wanted to get more
you.
of those, but you didn't let us.
You ate all of them in a day.
Oh, no, I only ate half of them in a day.
So I've got news, Wander.
Yes.
If that game I already forgot the name of, Tiny Metal, if that comes out and it sucks, don't worry. There's another clone of Advance Wars coming out in early 2018 from Chucklefish, the makers of Starbound.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that one too.
Called War Groove, because apparently everyone's just cloning old Nintendo properties.
Why not?
Dude, we both just saw a new Star Wars movie. We can't rag on people for rebooting old IPs.
No, well, it's different in some ways. That's one franchise continuing, whereas this is the indie market is so saturated that every old property that can have a spiritual successor made by outside people has several.
This ain't even a spiritual successor. This is just straight up like a ripoff. Like these graphics are the exact same.
Wargroove looks identical to Advance Wars, but medieval.
Wargroove.
Whereas the other one looks.
What are you looking at? I'm looking at like they have tanks in this one.
You're thinking of Tiny Metal Bird. Wargroove.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at a screenshot of Wargroove, and like some of
which is weird.
Some of these are medieval. Some of them have tanks.
What?
You're watching my stream right now.
Did you Google image search it or something?
Boom,
you might
display capture. Oh shit, I had the wrong thing in the thing.
Did you Google image search? Because you might just be getting search results that are Advance Wars.
No, this is Wargroove. They got tanks. They got a pupper. They got a Viking ship. They got cities.
That's the same character's
That's like a weird Viking tank thing. Oh, but there's a helicopter. What the fuck?
Is there a different game mode?
Yeah, dude.
Because
what? That's weird. Because I'm looking at the like current screenshots and I don't see any of that.
Maybe in the past they had.
Yeah, I get the feeling that they had actually started by cloning Advance Wars. And then they're like, wait, shit, we can't quite do that.
Let's do a different time period.
There's a screenshot of a bunch of like World War I guys shooting at an army of dogs led by a Viking.
Well, now
what is going on in this game?
Going wacky.
Wraiths and demon dogs.
I don't see a Heidner hair of
they used the same woman though.
I just can't believe that of all things, their spiritual successors to Advance Wars coming out within a few months of each other.
Yeah.
So this is I think this is actually a thing. When did Advance Wars come out / stop coming out?
If something hasn't been
2002.
If something doesn't have a sequel in a couple years, someone tries to buy into the category.
2001.
That's 10 years.
16 years. That's enough time for a person who loved the game to go through middle school, high school, college, some years in the industry, and then come out wanting to make an indie game based on their favorite thing as a kid.
Days of Ruin came out in 2008.
Yeah. So I am betting what happened is just that. This happens a lot with games.
Oh, for goodness sake, don't do the duck face.
I'm doing the duck face.
You're doing the duck face.
No, you know the story.
But like this is fairly frequent. I noticed this with roguelikes, that there will be whole years where no roguelikes come out. And then there's a bunch of iterative roguelikes based on some other roguelike or using some other roguelikes mechanics. So this year has been the year of the roguelikes using a lot of I want to say like hack and slash. I don't know. There have been a bunch of like either Risk of Rain inspired roguelikes or like hack and slash platformer.
That was salt right down the back of my throat.
Oh no.
We're good. Continue your story. Continue your story.
You don't want to inhale when those are.
But I think Me Tooism in video games. I really want to see somebody study this at this point, because I bet there's actually like a basic underlying like psychological thing that people will people will like internalize it, sit on an idea for a certain non-specified number of years, and then recycle
clone.
it. Yeah, it is. And Souls clone. I bet 15 years from now we're going to be inundated with Souls clones.
We already
there's
are.
going to be a dearth, and then there's going to be a resurgence of it, all within like 2 years.
Like when everyone collectively decides, I miss Mega Man, let's make Mega Man. And then everyone made Mega Man.
I mean, Mega Man 11 actually looks really nice compared to Mighty Number 9.
And 20XX.
Let's see. I mean,
20XX is a terrible name for a Mega Man clone.
It is, yes. Have I told you guys about JRPG Hell that's coming up next year?
What? I'll be sure to duck and cover and avoid all of that.
Yeah, so JRPG Hell is starting the 19th of January and ending February 15th. I think there's 5 to 7 JRPGs that are coming out, and these are like fairly high-profile ones. So Ni no Kuni 2, the next Digimon Cyber Sleuth game, the remake of Secret of Mana. I don't know if you want to count Monster Hunter World. Some people do, some people don't. It's rumored maybe Dragon Quest 11, but probably not, and just like a couple other things, and it's just very like densely packed JRPG time when there's been like none for months. Like there was Xenoblade at the start of this month.
And you finally finished it.
Yeah, which I did beat, but
oh, you probably don't want to talk about the ending because it's spoilery.
Well, it's also not that important. I don't know.
It caused a huge controversy though. At least with you.
What was the controversy?
So there's a character and she starts off as one person, but then you realize that she's actually 2 personalities inhabiting the same body. This should sound familiar, Bird. And they finally
kinda.
and they switch.
Kinda.
Bird's never played as a character with multiple personalities in one body before.
Okay, so effectively there's the original personality that made the new personality to cope with PTSD, and then she sealed herself away for 500 years. She gets woken back up, thrust into a new conflict.
After 10,000 years, I'm free!
Yes, and her companion, the main character, is this, like, you know, kind of 15-year-old boy that immediately they start kind of pushing down the, they're slowly, like, quietly falling in love with each other and, like, you know, standard
awkward
anime-ness.
Like
except
her
for
waking up in his bed with his arm
except
vastly
for like
clamped between her cleavage.
Yes, chapter 3 or 4, they reveal that no, the character you've been getting to know the entire time isn't the real original one. It is in fact the splinter personality, you know, that was created to cope with PTSD. And now there's 2 personalities in one body, and they both love the main character.
They're probably related.
Oh no!
Yeah.
If she had existed that many years ago, they're probably related.
Well, their blades.
Yeah, she's an artificial person.
Yeah.
Oh,
so.
I was just thinking about how genes spread so
this,
quickly over generations.
Yeah,
I like how this manages to completely undermine understanding of PTSD, multiple personalities. And like
and
schizophrenia,
writing.
like it really hits all 3 at the same time. I'm impressed.
Yep, it does. And so
and do they ever get jealous of one another?
No, they don't. They're always
they
in
come to an
agreement.
Oh.
Yeah, because they share the same memories, just not the same thoughts, which is weird. But so they frequently switch back and forth, and there's kind of this like subtext of which one of us do you like more? And you're even given a choice of like which name do you want us to call us by? And so I just picked the original because like this whole situation is weird and upsetting.
By the original, he means the Splinter one that you met at the beginning.
The first one that you meet, basically.
The RPGs were a mistake.
And so what ends up happening at the very end, there's serious spoiler time.
Spoiler time.
Spoiler time. If you haven't seen my full series or you care about the ending, go away for about the next 2 minutes. Anyway. Now that that's been done. So at the very end of the game, you're up in a space station as you always, some ancient facility as you always do in JRPGs. And it's of course falling apart because you killed the last boss and he was the only thing that was holding it together. Not quite, but still. People are going to yell at me for the inaccuracy, but I'm trying to go quick. Anyway, so it's falling apart. And this girl is the one of the two most powerful things in existence at the current point in time.
And did you destroy the other one?
Yeah, and we just killed the other one. And so she's the only one that can hold the space station together. And even then it's falling apart. So she's the only one that can destroy it. So everybody else gets in the escape pod, and she's like, well, bye, I'm going to go die.
But she became a super special third form. The one form had red hair, the other form had blonde hair, and then this one has green hair.
Yeah, there was like
turquoise.
There was like a combined version that was like supposedly the two of them like in unison as one character.
Working in concert.
But so she walks off and like hops in the big bad world destroying mech that was gonna destroy the universe, and she's like, well, time to blow up the space station, and then just like self-destructs it. And I'm like, you couldn't like set that and then run, or just use the mech to whatever. But so she heroically sacrifices herself, and everybody else is all sad but also trying to live. And there's some other like MacGuffin Deus Ex Machina saving their asses. And before she went, all of the artificial people that like turned into your weapons had core crystals that were either in like their face, their chest, or like somewhere on their body. And at the very beginning of the game, she had given the main character half of hers because he was dying, and so they were sharing life. She gives him the rest of it, which fully resurrects him, I guess. And then it goes inert, and he's like, no, like she's dead. Except for like, so effectively the full game cutscene ends, and it's like, yay, we're going to a new continent, but we're also sad because, the girl I love is dead, and our friend is dead, and so on and so forth.
Girls?
Yeah, girls. So cutscene ends, credits roll, and then after credit scene picks up, and what do you know? The core crystal's lit up again, and you can resummon her as good as new, except for then you get just both of them. Like, not in one body, but just two girls there.
I guess that's one way to invalidate the entire story is just to delete it.
Split off the multiple personalities and make them independent.
Yeah, pretty much. Which, I mean, to some degree, it's like, okay, that solves the psychological issues. But then from now on, the title screen of the game is the main character hand in hand with both girls staring off into the sunset. I'm like,
fan service.
What?
God damn it, Japan.
Service. You got all the girls. That's the real reason you're playing,
Not to
right?
mention, there was another girl that I absolutely liked at the beginning because she was tough and she was like
the actual like
rebuffing him.
Yeah, the actually interesting girl in the entire game is like fallen in love with the main character too, and like actually is like, I love you at a certain point, and he's like, I love everybody, and like completely ignores it.
You had phrased it to me like, I love you too.
Yeah, well, he starts by saying, I love you too, and she's like, has the like heart skip face. Really? And then he follows up immediately with, I love everybody, to like the dough ball rodent companion character and the like adult guy and everybody else, and you're just like, oh, you dense bastard.
Did they replace the Monado with another sword name they yell constantly throughout the entire story?
No. Well, no. So that's the interesting thing. The Monado was in the game. The villain's sword was the Monado. Yeah.
The Xenoblade was the Monado all along.
Well,
the Monado,
okay.
the Monado, the Monado. So he's not strong enough for the Monado.
More spoilers.
The power of Monado.
More spoilers. Okay. So
have you seen the Monado compilation?
Yes, video? I have. I saw that video a long time ago, and I rewatched it yesterday, and I was like, Monado, Monado, Monado. So apparently, spoiler time again, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 are happening simultaneously.
God damn it.
The events of them are parallel, and the big bad evil guy...
They look so compatible visually.
Yeah. The big bad villain guy for Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is actually the deity in 2. They call him the Architect, because you have to have a name for him, then it's not just God.
Does he sit in a very boring room full of screens and monologue to you?
He is. Except for when you eventually get to meet him, it's the same guy, but it's in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, he had like ascended to godhood, and he looked young and almost identical to the main character. Whereas in 2, he's old as shit because he's been around for like 50,000 years or something stupid like that, just wasting away. Because half of him is in this other dimension, and there's like a vortex that is like slowly sucking up his body. and he's like got cords and shit hanging out of him, and he looks pretty messed up, and he's actually this like benevolent person that feels really bad, and so there's kind of the parallel of like effectively his bad half got sucked off to the other dimension, and so he reveals that there were 3 cores that he'd made to manage the whole system because he was a deity in both. And one of them caused like a space-time vortex and disappeared. Like, he says this super offhandedly, and so you wouldn't notice, but like effectively one of the MacGuffins deleted itself from the current universe. And it became the Monado in the first game.
Man, that's some plot. I like how they made everything work by punching it into place effectively.
Yeah. For me, I was okay with it because of 2017, this is the best JRPG I've played, because I think
that's
the only
a very
one I really
specific filter you're applying.
Well, I mean, the only other 2
also,
JRPGs I
fucked Persona.
Yeah, Persona was too long for me to enjoy it fully.
More controversial opinion than Doki Doki from that last episode.
Yeah, I mean, this might piss some people off.
We can always do
better than Persona 5.
We can do way better.
I didn't like Persona 5 that much.
That's the thing. The one thing about Xenoblade, from what little I've seen of Wander playing it, is that the characters are likable.
Yeah, the characters are likable, and you had a lot of character moments, and like the gameplay was fairly snappy. Persona just felt like a slog after Chapter 4, and there were 8
Every time I look
chapters.
at Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I get like irrationally angry.
Yeah, well, no, I can totally understand that.
For the same reasons as Final Fantasy, whatever it was called. World? Universe?
Yeah, Final
They need
Fantasy.
a better naming scheme.
Yeah, World
No
of
one
Final
will be able to
Fantasy,
remember the
there you
names of these games 10 years from now, when it's like, which suffix did they add to Final Fantasy for that one? You know, the one that was Final Fantasy?
So what makes me angry about them? Is it the character design?
They're getting
the
more
voices,
childish,
the
more
voice
anime.
acting,
Yeah.
the
voice
the
acting
character
was
design, the world
British,
design,
right?
the writing, the jokes, the sense of humor, the capturable women.
Yeah, the costume thing is just kind of off-putting.
The completely
It is gross.
the 15-hour tutorials with overabundance of mechanics that don't actually add depth to the game, but just pointless layering, which is a lot of JRPGs now, and it's just there's really nothing I'm happy about when I look at a lot of these things.
Yeah,
Like that Star Ocean game. No.
We should probably call this one here, otherwise we're gonna have less time for DOS.
Oh yeah. No, this is a fine time. We could.
Yep. Does anyone have any gross stories they want to leave off?
I'm just going to throw out a PSA there that if you heard me talk about Twilight Imperium before, Twilight Imperium 4 is out, and it is so good. And maybe at some point in a podcast I'll discuss it. But just letting everyone know that the ridiculous tabletop game Twilight Imperium has a new edition this year that's out already, and it's fucking great. And you should spend hundreds of dollars on it and make friends, and then invite them over for an entire day of that.
All right.
Gross stories.
Cool. No, we don't have time. We don't have time.
Yep.
3.
Gross. Wait, no.
3.
Nope.
3.
2.
2. 1.
1. Stop.